So with that said, when we designed this system, it has never been designed intent that a tower gives you the ability to go off and be by yourself. What we are doing is giving a local community, and it's in our mission statement. Our mission at Eden and the Real Martian, it's evolved to Eden now, is provide sustainable food and energy independence to local communities around the world and one day off of it. And we're going to give you the ability to say, oh, I have a bunch of extra carrots. Let's flip that up on the digital marketplace there. And this guy has a bunch of extra potatoes. Let's flip that up on the marketplace. Let's trade.
And good afternoon, everyone. Jeff Raymond. Remember, he and I did March 2017 an interview, The Real Martian. You'll find that in my playlist, where we were talking about agriculture, indoor agriculture in snowy and cold weather environments for bioregenerative food and energy production systems. Because it's great to talk about a problem, and you could do that all day long and just feed the fear. But what about a solution that people know they can take action, know that there is a possibility for them to move through this the best way possible with the best chance of, still living and thriving during these changes? That things have changed, they're going to continue to change. We're going to have to think of different fashions to get through life in itself. And one of the base things is food, no society, no food, no civilization. This is going to be a solution-based episode more than it is, talking about the problem. But we do need to frame it on what both Jeff and I see in the next 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 year, before you might realize why you want to think about indoor ag or greenhouses or just ag in general that you can put some automation into. So Jeff, thanks for joining.
But we have a single deck that has no reservoir on it. All these towers are meant to be connected to each other. They can buddy breathe. So that means the towers that have reservoirs, our reservoirs are what we call bimodal. It's not because they don't know who they are. It's because they can do things multiple ways. They can operate in hydroponics. They can operate in aquaponics. So it's a 60-gallon tank, and whether you want to put nutrient solution into it or you want to raise fish, you can do that. And then they're heated as well, which none of our competition has. And then you put filters on and stuff for fish mode. But one 60-gallon reservoir can feed up to 15 to 33 of these towers, daisy chained to each other. So that you only need the one reservoir, you just got to keep it filled, and then the water goes to all of them. Depends on what crops you're growing, but that's why there's a range. But these all grow carrots, beets, garlic we've grown. I think those are the big ones. We've done onions, chives. We got a whole long list actually on our website here of ones that we've grown in our previous systems. And then I've got a bunch of videos up as well that we've put up.
Did I see that said banana at the bottom of the list there?
Yeah, in the Hab, we grew a banana tree. Yep. We actually did what's called split system aquaponics for all of these, the trees. We actually had, non-local trees here. And unfortunately, it collapsed before we got a harvest off of them. We had a spider mite problem with the apples, but things that were non-system related that we dealt with. But yeah, we had little grapefruits, little peaches. The almonds, they didn't mature in time. It takes time for the tree to mature. They were just too young. Clementines, we had those on the tree. And the bananas, we had those coming up, but they never fruited. But yeah, we grew all of them. They got big. It was nice. It was really cool seeing that. These are all Hab. We did cantaloupe, watermelon, kiwi went bonkers. It grew everywhere. This is all based on the techniques that we learned that we have now refined into our grow towers. And the grow towers allow you to, grow a whole lot of different things. I think we have tower features here. They're automated. So when you get the tower, you get it all set up. It's computer controlled. You get a little app on your phone, and you basically take your seed, put it in a cup. You tell the app where you planted it at, and the system takes over. And it'll even tell you how long till harvest. There are some maintenance things you have to do, but less than 5 minutes a day. And you get 64 plants on this one that we're shown. It's called a double decker with a reservoir. So you got 64 plants. You can grow a lot with 64 plants. Lots of salad comes off this thing, but you can grow all your carrots. We're building a microgreen deck so you can actually grow microgreens with it. I know you're a big fan of microgreens. You had those on your channel quite a while ago. We grew microgreens in the Hab. We know people want them, so we're going to be doing a microgreen add-on that you can have here. You can still have your 64 plants, but you'll be able to add on these wings, so you can actually grow microgreens on them. 4 of these towers takes up the same size as a queen size bed, and it will feed 2 people all 2,000 calories a day out of those 4. So that's not a whole family of 4, which is where we want to get. And the way that we can say year round is these are meant to be put into a garage right now. My wife and I, we took the first one, put it in our house, and my wife gave me the "Jeff, you need to work harder" speech, and said that we still have a little bit of ways to go to make it so everyone would like it in their home, but we're getting closer and we're working on that. But right now, these are meant to go in a garage, and they're meant to offset your dietary needs. We've grown corn in the tall deck. There was one that we have. Where's it at? This guy over here on the far right. This is for all the the cannabis people out there. We got a tower for you. Our light is automatic. It goes up and down. It's all connected, computer controlled, everything. Fans are integrated for pollination. And it's pretty easy to take care of, but we can grow with these towers. I'm safe to say we can grow pretty much anything. I wouldn't put a tree in one, so by anything, I mean your standard crops. You can get kind of crazy with things that you could grow. We've grown grapevines in them. Cucumbers, we've had them go absolutely bonkers. What is it? I have this queued up here. Here's a video. Let me reset it here. We got 3 feet of snow. This is actually 2 feet. This one was just getting going. But inside of our garage here, we have all these cherry tomatoes going. You can see the greens. There's actually 3 towers in here. This one's just going nuts. But we've had this filled with cucumbers as well. They were just going nuts. Lots of cherry tomatoes, yellows, reds, and then we got peppers going. Got lots of peppers off. Lots of peppers going. Green peppers, red peppers, all of them were all coming in and doing really, really well. And we've had tremendous amount of success with pretty much every crop that we've done. And what we're doing is we're taking all those lessons and then we run them by our director of research who's done this for a living. And we're like, what have we done right? What have we done wrong? And we're taking all the wrong things and we're writing software and we're putting it all into our app so that everything that we've had to go through, we're going to have the app just take care of all those issues for you. We're putting sensors into the tower. We're actually moving to some really cool technology that I'll share in the future, but it's going to really be monitoring everything in the system. We're going to be using AI, the good kind of AI, not the bad kind that does vision learning. So we're looking for the pests, we're looking for the disease. We're just going to be monitoring all that and taking the labor out, and we're just getting started.
Yeah, because I can say from my growing, we're moving over to hay bale gardening this year for potatoes, not straw. Remember, straw will rob your nitrogen. Hay, double twine what you consider bales of hay, because we try to do sweet potatoes and they took off great, but it was an enormous amount of work harvesting those and digging them out of the ground. And, we missed a fair few. And after we decided to trim out and get everything for next year, there was a whole bunch of sweet potatoes left that we know. It's good at some points from doing it the traditional way, but we're moving our methods to something a little more efficient. But this is what it's going to have to be here is, what if we lose everything in the fields like we have? The tomatoes you showed were good because we had trouble growing our tomatoes later in the summer. It was just too rainy. We got 87% above the average rainfall. And then last year it was the same, but it was in the 90s. So 1.9x on the rainfall. And then this year it was 1.87x on the rainfall. So it seems that here in East Tennessee, everything's becoming rainier. And, these fungal and mold issues are a real thing. So now we're considering row planting spacings in a different fashion to try to get more airflow through naturally. So, we have to double the size of the garden, not to double the production, but to leave space in between rows so airflow can come in. And knowing what it is and the progression that we've gone through so far, I just can't see, any more than a couple more years before outdoor gardening is not going to be as reliable as it has been. There's a fair few things that didn't grow that well this year here as well. The grapevines, for example, very few people had any good luck with the grapevines in East Tennessee. The bees, even the director of our bee club lost hives because it was 70 degrees one day, and then a day and a half later, it was 14 degrees Fahrenheit. Plants weren't ready for it. Bees weren't ready for it. We lost colonies. Everybody lost colonies around here. So you can see the trajectory moving of where things being lost on what we consider, even using innovative methods on the outdoor grow. I got the greenhouse I'm building right now. That's great. But then what if a hailstorm tears it apart? We're going to have something more resilient, more rigid against what nature's going to throw at us. And, you know, I've been coming at this, but then I'm always about the protein, because protein is going to be valuable. If I could sum up a statement, protein will be valuable. You know, gold has its own value, but protein as a food source compared to a vegetable source, there's something very different in that. So, you know, you got me a little interested there when you said shrimp and fish. And then one last point, yeah. You know, people are going to be cooling their home, or not heating their homes as much as they would, or not heating their homes or cooling them as much. Because we talked about this before the show. You know, the power prices going up and people's electricity bills doubling, they're going to not turn their homes up as high on the heat as they will in the winter, or cool them as much in the summer. Now I'm finding the same thing working with another system out in the garage. I just can't keep my garage warm enough because it's so up and down. And, you know, they're even trying to use what you consider just a garage that's not, it's sort of insulated on the roof, but not in the walls. Yeah. So yeah, even the growing space inside. So your most, I guess, controlled growing environment is actually going to be in your living space itself. So, you know, there's quite a few things to contend with moving forward, but I think a combination of all or some are going to be the winning combination there. So yeah, back to the, like, I see tell me about the shrimp or the fish. That really, because protein will be king moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Protein is a big part of this, and that's why our systems were designed with aquaponics in mind. You know, when we did the HAB, we absolutely had to have trout. Oh, we like, a lot of people like tilapia. I'm not one of those people. I wanted a fish I enjoyed eating, and what was marketable that I could sell as well. And rainbow trout for our climate was a great fit. And controlling the temperature for the fish was actually the major issue. Because kind of the secret, you know, I'll give away the secret. A lot of people who grow plants know this, but if you keep the roots at a good temperature, then the ambient air temperature becomes less important. It's still impactful, but it becomes less important. So you could have, for example, if it's 90 degrees in your greenhouse and your roots are at 90 degrees, then your lettuce will bolt. If your roots are at 65, 70 degrees and the air is at 90, your lettuce will be vibrant. Depending on how much sun it's getting, you know, if it's direct sun or not, but you'll have really good stuff. So the secret is in the roots. And for a band, there's a band of acceptable tolerance that the roots can handle. So what we've done for protein is we've created a system that you can grow tilapia or the giant freshwater prawns. That's what we've done. We've got mail order prawns that come up from Florida. We get them here, we put them right in the tank. We don't put them into our local ecosystem or anything like that. They go right into the tank like a fish. It's a fish tank. That's where we put them at. And they grow. They do well. They throw shrimp food in. And we're just really getting going with that. We wanted to make sure the towers grew plants first. So we started with the hydroponic method. And then we've now started going aquaponic. And it works. It does work. And you get protein out of it. I don't have rates for you yet because we haven't made it that far, but you know, theoretically you're going to get a pretty good amount of protein from these things.
Can I ask a quick newbie question here about this?
Yeah.
Fish versus shrimp on the kilogram yield or pound yield for those of you in the States coming out. Which one is it going to produce more kilograms or pounds of actual either fish or, you know, shrimp? I'm not sure on the growth on which one.
Species dependent. What I like about shrimp, so like if you have a tilapia versus shrimp, I think tilapia are going to win as far as their yield goes. They're voracious eaters and reproducers, and they'll eat themselves. you give them what they need. I think that's why people like starting with tilapia. Carp is another one, goldfish, pretty voracious, but not very tasty. Shrimp are good because they're bottom feeders, so they can do scraps. Because I'm thinking about total nutrient cycle, right? Like, how do I take table scraps and get them recycled? I think tilapia are actually a halfway decent choice on that one as well, because they really do kind of eat everything. And to me, that's a win. I have a preference towards shrimp because I enjoy them more than the taste of tilapia, but this system will work with either one. So you choose is kind of the answer. But I think to answer your question, you're going to get probably a stronger yield out of a fast growing, fast reproducing fish like tilapia than you would shrimp. Shrimp a little bit more challenging to grow, but I enjoy the taste more. So I'm willing to, have less of them, but still have them over tilapia.
Yeah, that comes down to it too. These things that if you're getting yourselves ready with some preps, and this is just in a general sense, if you don't like what you're eating, you're not going to eat it, because the difference between a fresh green bean and a canned green bean is so off the charts that you got to almost be starving before you'll even open that can of canned green beans comparatively. But you're going to have to really eat and want to eat the things that you're producing out of there, just to, instead of just producing it to have and say, I made it. Now you really need to tweak that for your own personalized taste or your family's taste on what they would want to have included in their meals.
Yeah, we're actually, when we put these towers together, we never intended that a person would get one of these towers and just go survive by themselves, because that's a fallacy. The lone wolf will die. You might survive for a little while, you may take down some elk, but you're going to die eventually when you face the rest of the herd. When another pack comes around, sorry to mix my species references there, but when another pack comes around, the lone wolf dies. You have to have community. And I've been a lone wolf, and God straightened me out on this one. Like, it takes a tribe, it takes a village. Humanity depends on each other. This whole divisiveness that's going on right now is anti-human. It is absolutely 100% anti-human to divide us. We are meant to be in community. Everybody, we're all supposed to be together, and we're all supposed to be sharing. So with that said, when we designed this system, it has never been design intent that a tower gives you the ability to go off and be by yourself. What we are doing is giving a local community, and it's in our mission statement. Our mission at Eden and the Real Martian, it's evolved to Eden now, is provide sustainable food and energy independence to local communities around the world, and one day off of it. That's our mission statement. That's what we live and breathe every day. That's what we give thanks for God letting us do. It's about independence, and it's about community. You get those things together, you got good stuff. But that starts with food and energy. When you get that, you're really in a nice spot. You can kind of control your own destiny at that point. So what we are designing in the app is a digital farmers market, to where people that have our systems, and eventually our app and the systems that we're building, we're moving out of the grow tower, and we're going to be taking the technology that we put in the grow tower and making it available for you in your garden, or if you're growing something in your windowsill, whatever. We're gonna take the tech that we've learned, all those lessons, all those skills, all those techniques in growing, including things like how close you should plant things to each other, or plant this next to this and don't plant it next to this, co-plantings. We're taking all of that, we're designing it all into this tower, and then we're going to migrate it into your garden. And we're going to give you the ability to say, oh, I have a bunch of extra carrots. Let's flip that up on the digital marketplace there. And this guy has a bunch of extra potatoes. Let's flip that up on the marketplace. Let's trade, right? I mean, that's how we've been built as a society since the beginning, together, working together, community. And I think I could safely say the way that what's going on around us right now is pure evil, is because it's anti-human. It's going absolutely against what we are designed to be, and that is in community with each other. Now, I'm an extrovert. There's probably a whole bunch of introverts out there that are going, well, I'd really kind of like to be off by myself. Well, in a survival situation, and when you need to make your own food, that's not going to be an option. You need to get yourself around people you trust and that you can work with, that you have tools that you can trade and make each other's lives better. And you're going to end up finding out, even if you're an introvert, when you turn the video games off, when you get off of social media and you're out there doing stuff that actually matters, your life is going to be more fulfilled. you're going to be happier, depression's going to go down. And when you see where your food's coming from and you eat it, there is a sense of satisfaction that you can't really get from anywhere else. It's actually pretty amazing. And I think these towers for us, they're just the beginning of where we want to go.
Yeah, because you have to take that tribe back to, if we go back in time, if you were ostracized or kicked out of the tribe, you died. Think about how wild the world was even, 100 years ago, how much larger the forests were, how many more wild animals were out there, how many more hunters and trappers, and just things that were not safe if you were not in the community. I talked to Dan Schultz about this, and he was telling same exact thing. 200, 500, 1,000, 2,000, especially when I go further back, like 5,000 years ago, if you were removed from the tribe, it was a death sentence. But you got to bring that into the modern context here of what if, I have cameras all over the place. I was looking at here, and what if a group of 4 SUVs come up with 16 heavily armed guys come out of there and I'm by myself? A lot of these things playing out in people's minds, like, well, I'm just one guy. Oh, you got 16 heavily armed people coming up your driveway in SUVs. Then what? And it's not going to be you sitting there.
15 rounds at best. Maybe you got some extra magazines, but then when they leave and come back in the middle of the night, and you've been up for 5 days straight and you finally fall asleep. Goodbye. Yeah. You're done.
You can name a million movies about the lone wolf always will make their way through. It's just not like that, because you're not going to want to be bugging out into new locations because people will be protecting those locations. But also on the inverse, if you're a food provider and you're incorporating people's skills that are trying to find their way into the community, doing a skills assessment to see how they can add value to the community, that's a whole different way to think, especially if you're able to overproduce and then connect with another community that's next to you. How do you think international trade started? Why do you think there was a salt route, the frankincense route? We got to go down the Silk Road. Why do you think all these things existed through time? It was because somebody overproduced and was able to trade with another place of something value they couldn't get themselves, produce themselves. And, I would see the same exact thing happening again. It's human nature.
It's human nature.
Works. So we're going to revert. We're going to relive a lot of chapters of history.
Exactly. You covered the history much more succinctly than I could have. And we're going back to the basics. We're going back to the way things work, because that's what works. This whole control your food thing that we're seeing around, I think Christian does a good job of that on Ice Age Farmer, of really pointing out. He's done a lot of research. I mean, that guy, I think he just lives in the books. I don't know, or somewhere on the web. He's got good sources, but they're just, and you've done very similar stories. Like, they're just attacking the food and controlling it. I don't want that. And I know there's a lot of people like you and others we don't want this. We want community. We want to be part of society. It's not like we want to be rejects or something. It's quite the opposite. We want healthy community. We want it where you can express yourself truly in diversity. True diversity is what creates power and strength in teams. True diversity is you're different, I'm different. That is good. The diversity training that we see today is you're different, I'm right, you need to change. This whole idea that everybody just has to think the exact same thing or else is the exact opposite of what we are supposed to be. I mean, you and we probably sit down and agree about, I don't know, probably 80% of what we see as far as life, but we're going to disagree on some things, and that's great. That's how it's supposed to be. I want to be in a place where you and I can sit, I don't know if you drink, have a beer, sit around the campfire, have a glass of whiskey and talk about life and share our problems and disagree and be like, no, Jeff, you're wrong. No, David, I got a problem with that too. And then come afterwards, give each other a hug and say goodnight. Talk to you later, man. See you tomorrow. And that's the community that I want to be a part of. And that's the community that I want to surround myself with. And that's the community that's going to start growing its own food. And we're going to be the ones who survive and thrive. The ones that are sitting there or eating regurgitated worm guts, their skin is going to turn to pale, white, nasty, or some other color based on their race. And they're just going to be unhealthy people.
Well, I hope that if we were arguing, having some whiskey around a campfire, some beers or whatever, that we would make a list of notes for action items after that. Because, people talking like that, you make a huge list of things that could be improved, next steps, things that could, let's think about this over here. during these times when you might think it would be disagreeing or when there's a lot of information flow from two minds. So why did they have a scribe there before? Go back in history. When people would be talking, it wasn't that they were writing their own notes down. The kings or any nobles of the time that were wealthy enough to have scribes, they would have them write down the conversations. Same thing, because how much value comes out of that disagreement of different ways to do things, better ways to do, more efficient ways to do things. Instead of looking at it as a right or a wrong thing, think of it as ways to be more efficient or ways to progress in the future. Because you're right, the yelling of you're right, you're wrong, I mean, that does nothing. That just cuts off the conversation, and somebody else downs a whole bottle of whiskey because they're depressed at the campfire, and that's no good.
Yeah, and we're seeing that. We're seeing people
absolutely
do that.
It is,
and it's very understandable, but it's sad, and it's really unfortunate, because we're seeing people go down that road where, because they can't express themselves, because they don't have the community around them to support who they are, they're feeling that the things that have been part of our structure for so long are being taken away. You used to be able to go to work and you could get joy from that community, but now you have all these rules and regulations. You got your face mask on. It's very anti-personal, like cover up, stay away from me, follow these rules. It's almost like a machine.
Work from home.
Not machines. It's the world right now is extremely challenging, and having a scribe around. My dad, God rest his soul, he passed away unfortunately because of cancer, and that's part of what jump-started this whole journey. But I would say both my dad, my stepdad, my mom, my stepmom, the campfires that we've all sat around, I'm pretty sure that both sets of my parents would be like, we solved world hunger a long time ago if you guys just would have listened to us at that campfire. Because that's when a lot of good talks actually happen.